All right, Steeler fans, time for the mailbag segment every second half of the Wednesday podcast of Let's Ride. In case you want to know how to get your question answered, all you have to do is find me on Twitter at jhartman, HARTMAN_PIT. I put out the question, you respond, I answer this live on the air every single Wednesday show. So let's get this started with our buddy from up north, Jeff Coons. He said, happy July 1st, which is National Holiday North of the Border known as Not Matt Canada Day. Does the trade for Jonnu Smith and the search for another receiver? Adding him to the mix changes a bit of a possible playbook alongside Freiermuth. I don't think it ends the search for a wide receiver, but I do think that it definitely gives the Steelers another option where if they don't find someone, they feel like they can survive without it. For instance, you have like Roman Wilson. We don't know what that looks like because we haven't seen it in the NFL level. You still have Calvin Austin. You've got Robert Woods. And you obviously have DK Metcalf. The Steelers could be looking at this situation and saying, with Smith now in the fold, we feel like we've got a pretty good room in terms of offensive weaponry. We're still going to keep our feelers out there and see what can come, but ultimately they might say we're good. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think it ends it, but I also don't. I think they're still going to be searching. All right, Believers, the poll, Ride or Die Crew poll of the week, he said, is this the Steelers front office we are used to? The options are yes, no, or hell no. I said hell no. I am not used to this type of not free agency. The trades, people forget they traded with Seattle to get DK Metcalf, now trading with Miami. You look at the free agent moves, bringing in quarterbacks like they have the last 2 years. It's different. It is different. It's a different approach. I'm not saying it's bad, and I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just different. And so that's why I went with hell no. That's for me. All right, let's go to Renan. He asked, adding Scary Terry, that would be Terry McLaurin. He said a fourth would be enough, I think, and complement with a safety veteran, and we are good to dream about the Super Bowl. The offensive line depth is a concern, but could be addressed later on also. So what Renan is suggesting is if the Steelers were to trade and give a fourth-round pick to the Washington Commanders for Terry McLaurin, if that's all it took, now Terry McLaurin's going to want a new deal. I hope y'all realize that. There's a reason why he is upset with the Commanders. If he gets a deal and the Steelers pay him, man, that's going to be crazy. I don't think that deal would happen, and I don't think just a fourth would get him to come to the Steelers because I think the Commanders really covet him, as they should. He's very good. But if he were to come and they get a safety that's a veteran that's on the open market, there's some good ones still out there. I don't know if I would say dream about a Super Bowl. The offensive line, you said the depth is a concern. The offensive line is a concern for me. People forget we've never seen Broderick Jones for an extended period of time at the left side. Is Isaac Seumalo going to bounce back and was 2024 the new norm? Zach Frazier, is he going to take a good step forward? Is Mason McCormick the answer at right guard? And Troy Fautanu, we haven't seen him either on the right side. I mean, he played one game. He won the job last year. That's worth noting. But still, a lot of questions there. So let's pump the brakes on the Super Bowl talk just now. All right, let's go to Ryan Carter. He asked, do you think Mike Tomlin has realized the leaders are gone on the team and getting vets would help him change the culture for the younger guys? Even with older Ben Roethlisberger, the Steelers haven't felt like a team of adults. No mental toughness. Okay, so if you're talking about leaders, everyone leads differently, and that's important to note. You go back to the early 2000 teams and those teams that won Super Bowls. There were the guys like Joey Porter Sr. that's getting the guys fired up. Who ride? Let's ride. Like that's the stuff that you see. But there's other players that talked internally, like a James Ferrier type. He was a leader. He just wasn't the rah-rah guy. And so when you talk about leaders, like Ben Roethlisberger to me always, and I love Ben Roethlisberger, don't twist this the wrong way. He always felt very fake to me. I don't know what it was. He was not that leader that naturally everyone followed. Now, at the end of his career, yes, because he had been there, done that, and no one else on the team had been. But when he was on that team with all those other leaders, we're talking Jerome Bettis early in his career, the James Ferriers, the James Harrisons, the Joey Porters you talk about on offense, the Heath Millers, the Marquise Pounceys. I could go on. You understand where I'm going with all this. They were definitely, it all changed when you started to see that core nucleus leave, the Ryan Clarks leave, the Heath Miller retires, Troy Polamalu retires, and Antonio Brown and Mike Wallace, the Young Money crew, Emmanuel Sanders, they come in, and everything started to shift. And so for me, I think that bringing in a veteran is okay, but they can only do so much. You got to prove it. This team has to go out and win when it matters the most. Russell Wilson was a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He probably should have 2 Super Bowl wins under his belt. He has 1. So he comes in last year, and he's not really able to change much. He says all the right things, but he isn't able to change much. I don't know how he was perceived in the locker room, but is Aaron Rodgers going to be different? Is Darius Slay going to be different than a Patrick Peterson at the end of his career? We don't know. I can't say yes or no because we don't know. We haven't seen it yet. But I do understand that the team, the culture does need a shift. And I don't know if, I don't think that the leaders are gone per se, but I do think Mike Tomlin is recognizing that they do need to make some changes. And it comes down to the question I asked at the very end of the first half of the show, urgency or desperation? We'll be talking about that on Friday's show. Let's go to Andrew Heck. Watching the Steelers in recent years, I was always frustrated by how predictable the offense was. With Jonnu Smith added, Arthur Smith can now better disguise run packages with 2 tight end sets. How do you think his addition changes the offense? For me, I think that when you talk about if Aaron Rodgers still likes play action passing, which I'm assuming he does, he should really like this offense. And when you go back to, again, the Tennessee Titans, when Arthur Smith was the offensive coordinator, Jonnu Smith was there, so he knows that offense. But they had Derrick Henry, they had A.J. Brown. So that's what he requires. He wants big bodies. He wants to play action pass. He wants a quarterback that's not willing to rip it over the middle. I would say that they have all that. If the offensive line can keep them healthy, clean, all of it, open up holes to the running game, keep Aaron Rodgers upright, I think they could be dangerous, but not just in 2 tight end sets. Don't be shocked if they run a lot of 3 tight ends. It's 13 personnel. I think they'll live in 12. And this was something I talked with Coach Kevin Smith about on the NFL Whip Around, which can be heard on our FFS and NFL feed not too long ago when we talked about this trade and what it means. And we were talking about how, man, Aaron Rodgers likes 11 personnel. He likes 1 tight end and running backs. He likes 3 wide receivers. What's it going to look like? I think they're going to live in 12. I think they're going to live with 2 tight ends. And if you have Smith and Freiermuth out there, they're 2 very athletic guys. And that's going to be tough for safeties, linebackers to match up with. You should be able to get some mismatches there, and Aaron Rodgers is smart enough to find them. I'm excited. I think it's helping the offense. The Smith addition is what not a lot of people are talking about right now, but I think could have the biggest impact, if I'm being honest. Let's go to Tendercat. He said, long time, no question. Do you think the Steelers should trade TJ while we can still get some high picks to reinvest more talent on the offense? Or would you at least listen to offers? I think the Steelers right now, unless they get to a point in negotiations where it just feels like nothing is working, they're throwing out every number they can, because people forget the Steelers have to do well, but what's best for them in the long term. As an example, Jerry Dulac on the Rich Eisen show said the Steelers will probably want to give TJ Watt a 4-year extension. So 5 total years of contractual control so that they can spread out the money and it's not going to be a boon to the salary cap. I don't know if I believe in that or agree with that, but I will say this. If TJ Watt and his agent, representation, whatever you want to call it, if they're going to play hardball, the Steelers absolutely could put out a couple feelers and say, look, same thing with Minka. We're not actively shopping this player, but if anyone wants to call, we might be willing to listen, and you might see what you get. I think it would be a very high price tag to get TJ Watt. It would probably be day 2 picks, and I say picks plural. I don't know. I think they're going to get a deal done. I think they're going to try to I think they will get a deal done. I understand the premise, and everyone's thinking, okay, they moved Minka, let's move TJ now. I don't know if they want to do all that right now. And they do have options. Talked about this before on the podcast. Make him play out his last year of his contract. See what he does in that regard. We'll see. Let's finish this show up with Steeler Fan 69, providing the humor as he always does. Here we go. He said, hello, my friend. My wife dated a clown before she started going out with me. I had some pretty big shoes to fill. That's a good one. Haven't heard clown jokes recently. Next, he says, I am now at the age where picking up a hottie at the club means buying a rotisserie chicken at Costco. All right, and last one. Oh, this is bad. This is a bad taste, but I'm going to say it anyways. What is Donald Trump's favorite rap song? Ice, Ice Baby. And if you've been paying attention, you know what that's all about. But thank you very much, Steel Curtain, Steeler fan. Oh, we got some late questions. Oh, my gosh, late questions from Brandon Diaz. Let's get these answered quickly. Brandon Diaz says, at first I was mad, but now I'm more accepting of the trade. How do you feel like Steeler Nation is feeling 24 hours later? I still am a little befuddled by everything, but I understand things a little bit clearer now. Next, Omar will make more moves. What's first, another trade or TJ contract? I would take a trade before a TJ contract. I think the contract's going to take time. I think it gets done, though. And then he says, the best advice for newlyweds. Brandon, did you just get married? If you did, congratulations. My best advice for newlyweds is always the same thing. Always. And that is that it's all about expectations. Early on in my marriage, my wife and I, we would bicker over the dumbest stuff. And a lot of times it was because one of us would not tell the other what they truly expected from them. So my wife might say, hey, Jeff, do you mind vacuuming the living room? And I'd say, yeah, sure. And so I might be watching TV at the time. This would obviously be before kids. And all of a sudden she comes in a couple hours later and like, I thought I asked you to vacuum the living room. I said, well, yeah, but when was I supposed to do that? Like, you never said when. So, but if she would have said, hey, Jeff, we have company coming over at 5. I'd like you to vacuum. Is there any way you can vacuum the living room before 3? Now I know exactly what she's expecting. And instead, we would get into this giant fight. We'd start bickering all the time. Instead, if she would have just said to me, Jeff, can you get it done by a certain time? I'd say, you got it. And I would. And we'd be fine. Always lay out expectations. 99.9% of any type of relationship issue comes from expectations that are not met, which are typically not laid out for the other person. So there you go, Brandon. Hope you enjoyed it. Glad you got your questions in. I will be back on Friday. Already mentioned the topic, urgency, or are they just kind of rushing through things? Urgency or desperation? That'll be the topic on Friday's Let's Ride podcast. I'll also have Jeremy Jerome Betts on to talk all things Steelers. We have a lot to discuss. In the meantime, you know how we finished it up. Be safe, be kind, and God bless. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you on Friday. Go Steelers.